We are live, and I'm just going to test if we can hear Will. Will, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed. I don't know whether the chat can hear you or not, but that is another question that is unanswered. But welcome to today's, I'd say not impromptu because it was always in the plans, but it's been turbulent to say the least as we've started up this live stream today.
Yeah.
There's no usual intro, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But as everything in the world has stopped, the NFL season has chugged along. And we have hit free agency. Thank you for everyone who joined us on the free agency live stream on Monday.
Monday night, yeah. They want to phrase it.
It was Monday night indeed. And we went and basically live reacted to some of the earlier news, which we'll talk about. What we're going to do today is it's a bit different to your usual episode. There's no news section. There's no anything to talk about in that instance because basically nothing's happening.
Well, the free agency is the news, basically, let's be honest. So.
Yeah, the free agency is the news, and that is pretty much all we have. So we will start, and what we're going to do today is we're going to go through every single team in the league one by one, aren't we? We're going to talk about maybe some ins, maybe some outs, were they a winner, were they a loser of free agency since it began, because there's been a lot of shocking deals, not to do with free agents, but due to, trades that were happening, franchise tags that were placed before the deadline on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be able to see what we think about all the teams in the league. And we'll get the pictures up now, which I will get up just now. Let me click it. There we go. And we go here. There you go. The NFL Corner Free Agency Recap. We've got the Arizona Cardinals as the first team. You were researching them last night, Will.
Yeah.
Would you say big winners or losers from free agency?
The Arizona Cardinals were massive winners from free agency. Obviously, we know about the massive trade for DeAndre Hopkins, which they wanted to give away David Johnson and a couple of picks, and they got a top 3 wide receiver, which was incredible for them. The Texans, what on earth were they doing giving away DeAndre Hopkins? No one knows. But obviously, we got him. Well, they got him. Some of the moves, they put the transition tag on Kenyon Drake. They traded for mid-season, and he had a really, really big impact on the team. So they kept him around on the transition tag. Larry Fitzgerald is back on a 1-year deal. He's been playing for ages now, but he always seems to be that dependable target. Devon Kennard, which I think is a nice signing. The Lions recently released him. The Cardinals agreed to him on a 3-year, $20 million deal. So another pass rusher in there alongside Chandler Jones. And they also signed Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle, on a 3-year contract from Buffalo. And I really like this signing as well because that's another run stuffer that can put up the middle and that defensive line and make it get better than it already was. So, yeah, Arizona Cardinals, I think, were massive winners in free agency.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, when we were doing the live stream on Monday, to see they traded for DeAndre Hopkins for only a second round, and what was it, a 4th round as well, or a 5th round, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. They gave away a 2nd round pick, a 4th rounder, and obviously David Johnson, but in return got DeAndre Hopkins, I think, a 4th rounder in return anyway. So they didn't even give up a right lot, to be honest with you.
I mean, look at the now the assets for Kyler Murray. We'll talk about Tom Brady later. Kyler Murray to work with now on offense. I mean, you've got Larry Fitzgerald one side, DeAndre Hopkins on the other side. I think the Cardinals have got a good draft spot as well. I think in that 1st round. Yeah. I think they're going to be a real problem team this year. They've obviously, as you say, they've improved some other positions on the team in pass rushes and stuff like that. So I've got to agree with you. I think they were massive winners come free agency.
Huge winners. I think in the draft now, I think with getting DeAndre Hopkins, you don't need to target that wide receiver at number 8. Maybe you'll get yourself Mekhi Becton, a big offensive lineman to help block Kyler Murray. And if that happens, the Arizona Cardinals have had one heck of an offseason.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Mekhi Becton, we've already talked about, is an absolute freak of an athlete.
Yeah, he is. He's a beast. And go on.
If you've got targets for Kyler Murray to throw to, if you can give him time rather than having to escape the pocket all the time,
yeah,
then for him to pick a target, then there is no problem going forward for the Arizona Cardinals, and them showing a massive improvement, in my opinion, come next season.
I think we could see as well with Kyler Murray, we could see that 2nd year big jump. I know Lamar Jackson had it. Patrick Mahomes had it. I'm not saying he's an MVP or anything, but when you look at the weapons they've acquired, I think Kyler Murray's going to take that jump up to being on the verge of being a very, very good elite quarterback in the league.
I'd like to see it. I mean, he got Offensive Rookie of the Year, and
Yeah.
I said it was rightly deserved. I know you had a different idea, but we also said quarterbacks get a little bit of a special treatment compared to some other positions, which it's the money position and it's understandable. But I do think that going forward, the Arizona Cardinals have offensive weapons enough to cause real problems.
Yeah, definitely. And the defense is still very good as well. Maybe they could do with another safety, maybe, but they've still got Patrick Peterson, a cornerback, who's one of the better corners in the league. And with the weapons they have on offense now, they look like a very, very good team in, granted, a very, very tough division.
Oh, definitely a tough division, but I'd like to see them make that breakout next year. And I think if they can bolster a little bit on defense in the draft, they should be okay.
Yeah. I mean, that number 8 pick, that it's open to any position, really, because you've got Hopkins, so you've got rid of that big glaring need at wide receiver. They can just get the best player available. You know, and Isaiah Simmons might fall to them, Jeff Okudah might fall to them, but we'll have to see what they do with that pick.
I mean, if they can pick up Isaiah Simmons or Jeff Okudah, that is... I don't even want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals next year.
Scary team.
It is. On to the next team, which is the Atlanta Falcons. You're going to take us through what they did, because you did the first 16 teams, I did the second 16 teams as to who they bolstered during free agency. So I'll leave this one up to you. Winners or losers?
This was a tough one for the Falcons because they weren't very active in free agency so far. But I've got them as winners just about. They signed Tyler Davidson, a defensive tackle, on a 3-year, $12 million contract. So that's another interior lineman for them. They got Hayden Hurst in the trade, which if you were live in the free agency frenzy on Monday, you will know that they picked up the Ravens, along with a 4th-round pick in exchange for a 2020 second-round and 5th-round pick. So they didn't give up a lot there, and they got probably a new starting tight end after the loss of Austin Hooper. But the move I really like for the Falcons is the Dante Fowler signing. Big deal, 3-year deal, $48 million. But he's going to be that consistent pass rusher now on the team that can create problems. And I think Atlanta's a really, really good fit for him.
I think I definitely agree. I think it was, as you say, it was a tough one with the Falcons because you've seen a lot of teams making the headlines with all the trades they've been doing, all the, the pickups they've been doing of the big names during free agency. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons have picked up a big name.
No.
But I think they've picked up a lot of very good players that will help them going forward. So as you say, there's not a middle section between winner and loser, but personally I'd put them in that middle. It was an all right off-season so far.
It was all right. Yeah, it was all right. But I think the Dante Fowler signing was... if they didn't get Dante Fowler, it would have been... I probably would have given them a loss because they weren't very active. I know they got Hayden Hurst in the trade, but they needed some marquee pass rushers, and they got Dante Fowler as one of them. So I think that is their big off-season acquisition, if you like.
Yeah, and hopefully they can bolster too in the upcoming draft. Next up is, I've skipped too far, but it's the Baltimore Ravens, who, as you said, Hurst went from the Ravens to the Falcons?
Yep.
So the Baltimore Ravens have been very busy, actually. I'd say relatively busy.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens being a competing team, you've got your pretty big players signed to already pretty big contracts, but they did very well for what they had. They signed Michael Brockers on a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Rams, another pass rusher. They got Matt Judon with a franchise tag, their leading sack. Got the leading amount of sacks in their team last year, I think, so the franchise tag on him. They placed a second-round tender on Matt Skura. But the big move that we all knew that was actually from the Ravens this offseason was Calais Campbell. They acquired him in a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars in exchange for only a 5th-round pick, and then signed him to a 2-year, $27 million deal. So he will be around for another 2 years as well. And it's just another big pass rusher / run stopper on that Ravens line. And when you saw the playoff game, they got run over by Derrick Henry. Getting this guy in Calais Campbell is only going to help nullify that. And I think it was a brilliant trade. Only giving him a 5th-round pick, but still, really. I
agree. And I mean, if you talk about Matt Judon as well, who they signed who was the leading sack. I mean, if you're looking at that line and you've got Judon and you've got Calais Campbell, I think the Ravens have improved in the right areas because they have no problems on offense. They can pick a team apart on offense. Their problem was when they came up against the Titans and their defense couldn't hold up. And then when their offense wasn't having the best day, they failed. Yeah. So I think if you've got Calais Campbell alongside franchise tagging Matt Judon, that's a hell of a defense.
Yeah, and obviously they signed Michael Brockers as well, another pass rusher, but they also re-signed Max Peters in the offseason to a long-term deal, so he locked up as well at cornerback. You've got Earl Thomas at safety. So it's looking like a really, really good defense for the Ravens.
I think they might be an outside. I'm not saying it yet, but I think the way they've improved, they're an outside shout for the making it all the way next year. I'd say personally.
I would like to see how Lamar Jackson bounces back from his MVP season, can he keep it going, and if he can, this is another team that's going to be playing in late January.
I'd definitely say so, and maybe they might be the team that gets a bye week. We never know. We will do that preview one day soon. Next up is the Buffalo Bills. Winners or losers from free agency?
I've got the Bills as winners.
Oh, right, okay.
Obviously, let's start with the Stephon Diggs trade. They acquired him from your Minnesota Vikings and a 7th-round pick. They gave up a 1st-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick, a 4th-round pick next year. So they gave up quite a lot of picks. And we know Stephon Diggs is a player that likes to let his voice be heard, speak out on the team a bit. But let's be honest, he's a very, very good wide receiver, and it was a big need for them. But they also bolstered the defensive line a lot, which I really like. They signed Mario Addison on a 3-year deal from the Panthers. They signed Vernon Butler on a 2-year deal from the Panthers as well, so stealing all the Panthers players. They got Quentin Jefferson, quite an underrated defensive lineman for the Seahawks. They signed Josh Norman, which was a couple of weeks ago now, but it's another cornerback. And Quinton Spain, their guard, who they re-signed on a 3-year deal. So I think when you look at the Bills overall, they added to that defensive line. They got the #1 wide receiver in. They added some veterans, a cornerback like Josh Norman. So I think it's a decent offseason for the Bills, and I would say that they are winners.
I mean, if you looked personally, because I'm obviously going to look at for the big news for me for the Bills was the Stephon Diggs trade. I think you'd look at that. I would have given them a loss for that. I know they needed him because they want targets for Josh Allen, who it was the defense that got the Bills to the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
and they needed a few more weapons on the offensive side of the ball. But I think if you just looked at that Diggs trade alone, I would have given them a loss. But I think the other people they did acquire, I'll justify giving them a win.
Yeah, they really, really bolstered their defensive line. And the Stephon Diggs, looking at the DeAndre Hopkins trade, they only got a 2nd-round pick for the Texans, and they got a 2nd-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. And the Vikings got a 1st in return for Diggs. Well, everyone can agree DeAndre Hopkins is better than Stephon Diggs. But Stephon Diggs is still a very good wide receiver. And I know you'd be 1st-round pick and whatnot, but you're drafting a wide receiver in the draft, hoping he becomes as good as Stephon Diggs. You've basically got the best-case scenario really there. And I think him being that #1 weapon on the offense now, whereas the Vikings, they obviously had Dalvin Cook, they had Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph. He couldn't really be the focal point of the offense. The Buffalo Bills, however, I think he can really be that focal point of the offense, get the ball a lot, and become a leader on that team.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to Stephon later, and I think there was a lot of things that led to him leaving the Minnesota Vikings, but I think he'll find a home in Buffalo. It is interesting to see, as I was talking to you the other day, and we talked about Josh Allen's deep pass percentage of only 25% of successful deep passes.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how that'll a wide receiver that is not obviously been annoyed from not being targeted, but now he is the #1 guy in Buffalo. If he doesn't receive them deep passes, I'd like to see where it ends up going in terms of his attitude and his diva nature. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. He can be a bit of a hard player to handle in terms of managing him, but he's got the talent, and it's just about maybe we'll see if this is the right fit for him, and we'll see if Josh Allen wants him. But obviously, Josh Allen put on his Twitter saying he can't wait to get started. Same with Diggs. But those were a playoff team last year, and they've already bolstered. It's very hard to bolster a playoff team, but they've done pretty well, I think. So I would just put them as winners.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. And I guess, as you say, when it comes to the draft, they're giving up a pick where they're quite late in the draft. They might not. If they were maybe in the top 10 of the draft and they could pick up maybe their first choice might have been Jerry Jeudy, but they don't think he's going to drop that far. I mean, Stephon Diggs was a diamond in the rough because I think he got drafted in the 4th round.
Fourth, 5th round pick, Stephon Diggs, late round pick. Anyway.
from out of college. So, I mean, they're hoping in the draft that you can pick up someone just like him, but they don't always go the same. Some #1 wide receivers don't end up fulfilling the potential. Diggs has got it. Hopkins has got it. That might be why the Cardinals wanted that trade. so they can focus on other positions.
Yeah, I do think it's a good trade for the Bills. And but putting aside his troubles when he constantly asking for the ball, he has got talent, and it's just about getting that talent out of him and getting those mishaps on the sideline when he starts sulking, getting those out of his game, and just getting him to be the player that he can be, which is a very good wide receiver.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's not a good. It's a good deal for both sides, but I definitely
I think both teams won. You could say that. You could say both teams won because the Vikings got a lot from him, and the Bills got the player they wanted.
Yeah, but we'll move on and we'll move to the Carolina Panthers, who recently acquired a new quarterback, which they also got into trouble on Instagram because they said we have allowed Cam Newton to seek a trade, and then Cam Newton replied saying we didn't agree on any of this. What are you talking about, basically?
Yeah.
So that was that got him into a bit of an awkward situation. But overall, the Cam Newton thing aside, who looks like he's going elsewhere, winners or losers, Carolina Panthers.
So I originally had the Panthers as losers because they lost a couple of defensive linemen. But getting that Teddy Bridgewater contract, it's kind of just tipped them over the edge where they could be winners, but they also could be in the middle. Like they're similar to the team we just mentioned earlier. I think who was it? The team that we mentioned.
The Falcons were just very average.
Yeah, very much like the Falcons. It was very average, but they got Teddy Bridgewater in a pretty cheap contract. I think he's $4 million a year. A 3-year, $63 million contract, $33 million guaranteed. So I think that was the big one because it seems like the bridges have been built with Cam Newton, and I can't see him coming back to the Carolina Panthers. So I think Teddy was a really, really good signing for him. Obviously, they re-signed Trey Boston, who's a very good safety on a 3-year deal. They got Seth Robertson on a 1-year deal. They got Stephen Weatherly from the Vikings on a 2-year deal. So they've added some good depth. But getting Teddy Bridgewater was the main acquisition, getting that new starting quarterback. I'm going to see what happens to Cam Newton now.
Yeah, I definitely think that quarterback position was an anomaly for the Carolina Panthers, and I think they've got a good one. I think in Teddy Bridgewater, I think he was having a good year with the Minnesota Vikings. They had the game won against the Seahawks before the field goal got dragged wide, and then he ruptured his knee? He did something with his knee.
Who's that?
Teddy Bridgewater.
So yeah, I think it's always ACL practice.
Yeah, when he played for the Vikings, and then he obviously ended up with the Saints playing backup last year because, Taysom Hill he's not just a quarterback; he can play anything. So they decided to bring in Teddy Bridgewater for the 4 games where Breeze was injured. He won all 4 games. So there's enough there to say that he's good enough to be a starting quarterback. I think it'll be interesting leading into next season to see how he adapts to starting week in, week out, and hopefully that knee can stand up. Because you look at Cam Newton, speaking on injuries, that man's injured in every place on his body.
It's a shame as well because he's a talented quarterback, former MVP a few years ago. So, but I'm looking at landing spots for Cam Newton, and I can't really see any big player in a team that needs a quarterback and wants Cam Newton. I can't see it at the moment in the league.
It might have to be a backup situation. We will talk about some players at the end. You said that you've got a kind of a list of people that are still available.
Yeah, some good free agents that still haven't been signed yet. I'm only 3 days in, but obviously the first 3 days are where the big players usually get big contracts. But there are some really, really good players left. Good value signings.
Maybe some people that have a few question marks. Maybe Cam Newton's one of them with his injury problems and with the new rules to do with COVID-19 that players can. They have to go to a local doctor for a physical rather than the team's doctor. That might. No one can quite be confirmed, but we'll leave that for another time. I'm sick of talking about COVID-19. Next up, it's the Chicago Bears. They brought in a quarterback recently, didn't they?
They did, Nick Foles.
They brought Nick Foles from the Jaguars. What else do you think made them winners or losers?
So I've actually got the Bears losers. My first loser of the day. The reason is Nick Foles, obviously got him for a 4th-round pick, so it's not a right lot to give up for Nick Foles, but this season wasn't promising in his first season for the Jags. He got injured, and he just didn't look like the Nick Foles who played for the Eagles. Maybe he just didn't fit the system right, but he's got a pretty big salary, about $22 million, and you need to make a decision on Trubisky whether to pick his 5th-year option this May. So you either accept that or decline. You could be playing 2 quarterbacks, quite a bit of money, who are not even amazing quarterbacks, like they're average quarterbacks. Jimmy Graham signed into a 2-year, $16 million deal, but $8 million a year for Jimmy Graham at this point in his career, I think, is an overpay. I really do. He didn't do a lot in Green Bay, and $8 million is a lot. Robert Quinn signed from my Dallas Cowboys. I liked Robert Quinn as a Dallas Cowboy. I think he was a good pass rusher, very athletic pass rusher, but they give him a 5-year, $70 million deal, so he's getting $14 million a year. He's 29 years old. You might start to see that decline from Robert Quinn, where he might, age kicks in a bit. Still a very, very good pass rusher, but that is a big deal to hand out to someone who's only had, this season with the Cowboys had 11.5 sacks, but the 4 years before that, I think he failed to break 10 sacks. And the last signing they made was Dan Trevathan on a 3-year extension worth $21.75 million. This deal's not too bad. He replaces Nick Kwiatkowski, the loss to the Raiders, and he's already been there. Dan Trevathan, obviously, because it's an extension. But yeah, he just comes in over $7 million a year, which again could be quite costly for a guy that is getting a bit older. So yeah, the Bears, I think they've picked up some older players, you could say, and the contracts they've given them are pretty hefty contracts. I don't think they deserve really.
No, I think with the Bears, when they've been making these signings, they're not standout signings. They're not. I don't want to say they're not that good of players, but they're not
the marquee players.
And they're not really worth the money they're going to be earning on the contract. I think Nick Foles is an interesting one because they had that sort of Philadelphia Eagles miracle run, to the Super Bowl to get a Super Bowl ring, and since then he's not quite been the same quarterback.
No, not really.
It's be interesting to see him. To be fair though, he'll be up against Mitch Trubisky. Be interesting to see who starts because Nick Foles has been there and done it. Trubisky is yet to do anything.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Go on.
Just to see how the dynamic goes between the two. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I will like to see who wins the battle in training camp because Trubisky needs to prove something now because next season will be a free agent and they need to decide whether they want to sign into that long-term deal or not. So we'll have to see what happens with Mitchell Trubisky. Well, if they pick up the 5th-year option, they'll have him for another year onto his contract. If they don't pick up that 5th-year option, he will be entering next season as a free agent. So bringing in Nick Foles, a bit of competition, could really, give Trubisky the kick up the backside to say, come on, you drafted 2nd overall. We needed to start playing a bit better. We needed to show that you're worth re-signing.
Yeah, and it means if Trubisky does leave next year, they have got a quarterback there and they're not scraping around the market to find one next year or trying to trade up in the draft to get one next year. They're settled with like Nick Foles if all ends with Trubisky next year. Next up is the Cincinnati Bengals, who recently, like literally about an hour ago, acquired Mackenzie Alexander, the cornerback from the Minnesota Vikings. But what else do you think? Does that tip them any way for you personally, Will?
Personally, I have the Bengals as losers. Now, AJ Green keeping him around on the franchise tag. Obviously, it was at the request of Joe Burrow, we think. And AJ Green's a big name, but is he a big name receiver? He's been injured a lot the last few years, and they're given the franchise tag, which is quite a bit on the cap hit. We need to see if he's going to stay healthy. I think if Joe Burrow didn't say, well, we don't know if he said this in the meeting, but it's what we've heard. Unless Joe Burrow says, I want to keep AJ Green around, I don't think the Bengals keep him around. I think they let him walk. So I think that was done against their own will. TJ Reader, they signed him as a defensive tackle, 4 years, $53 million. Now, this guy's a good defensive tackle, but coming into free agency, I think he's one of those guys he's going to get overpaid just based on the fact there's not a lot of talent available in free agency in his position. He's a good player, but that's a pretty hefty contract. Trey Waynes, 3 years, $42 million. He's coming from the Vikings, the cornerback. I don't like this deal. I'm just going to say it out there. I don't like it at all. $40 million a year for a guy that's a pretty average corner. When you look at Chris Harris, go on.
I think the Mackenzie Alexander one's a bit better because I think they're playing him a lot less.
So Mackenzie Alexander, the cornerback from the Vikings, is only on a 1-year, $4 million deal. It's less risk. But $14 million a year for Trey Waynes is quite a lot, especially when we looked at Chris Harris yesterday. He got $10 million. And who else got 10? I think it was Desmond Trufant got just over 10 million. And those two,
the one
in my
that went
opinion,
to the Lions.
Yeah, those two, in my opinion, definitely better cornerbacks than Trey Waynes. And I think Trey Waynes got a big pay there. The Bengals have just overpaid for, in my opinion. So overall, they've filled some needs, but the players have paid very much similar to the Bears. They've overpaid, in my opinion.
I think for the Bengals, it's tough because they do have a decent bit of cap room.
Yeah.
I think they've spent it where they wanted to spend it. Obviously, they've upgraded in the 2 cornerback positions. Because let's be fair, the Bengals were awful on both sides of the ball last year.
Yeah, they were terrible. Anyone at this point can help them.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't the smartest deals, but they have plugged gaps they needed to plug. So again, I understand what you mean because of the way they've spent the money, but I'd put them in that average tier because they have filled in areas that they needed to fill.
Yeah, they've got paid. I'm not gonna lie, they have got paid, but the players they've got in are not bad players. Like TJ Reed and Drew into good corners. I just think they give them that above the market contracts they don't deserve. But they're on the team now. We'll have to see how it pans out for them. But they were definitely needs. But I think just based on how much they've paid and what they could have paid other players who were probably better than them, that's the reason why I thought them as losers.
Yeah, and the AJ Green one, obviously, there's yet to be seen what him and Joe Burrow can connect. He must have some idea in his mind, Joe Burrow, we've heard request to stay. However, I did see a report earlier today that apparently the Dolphins want to trade up to take the Bengals' first round pick.
Yeah, they want Joe Burrow. The Dolphins really want Joe Burrow, but
yeah,
the Bengals don't want to give up the chance of getting Joe Burrow, so I can't see a trade materialising there unless the Dolphins give the house for them and they give them all their picks. The Bengals are just going to say, no, Joe Burrow is going to be our quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's shouting into an echo chamber, in my opinion. I don't think they're getting anything back from that.
Yeah.
I think next up is the Cleveland Browns. Winners or losers?
Winners. Cleveland Browns have actually won something.
That's what I was going to say. I was used to the Chicago Bears being losers, but Cleveland Browns being winners.
Yeah.
Go on, talk us through your decision on this one then.
So I've got the Browns as winners, just based on the fact I think they've filled some pretty big holes and spent the money wisely on some good players. So first off, they got Jack Conklin, 3 years, $42 million deal from the Titans. Big deal, but this guy's a very good offensive tackle.
Very good player.
Best offensive tackle on the free agent market, in my opinion, so they give him a pretty lucrative contract. But it was a big need for them. Baker Mayfield was getting sacked a lot last year, so they've got a new man on that right tackle. Austin Hooper, the brilliant signing, Titan from the Falcons. 4-year, $44 million deal, $11 million a year. He becomes the highest paid Titan in the league. But this guy's a very, very good receiving tight end, and he will be a big loss for the Falcons, so that's another very good signing.
Does that not make the Falcons losers?
Possibly, but they got Hayden Hurst in a trade.
Yeah, I guess so.
And they also picked up Dante Fowler. I said Anyway, back to the Browns. Kareem Hunt, they put a second round tender on him. He's a restricted free agent, and Kareem Hunt, when the Chiefs released him, he was a brilliant running back, and the Browns picked him up. So let's see how he can play next season and maybe prove his potential. Andy Janovich was acquired in a trade with the Broncos, fullback, not much there, but another blocker. Case Keenum agreed a 3-year, $18 million deal, which I think is a great deal. You know, he's going to be their backup, and he's pretty cheap backup. So it's not another pretty good deal. And then this one, Carl Joseph, safety from the Raiders, to sign him on a 1-year deal. I really like this deal. I think he's a very underrated safety, strong safety. He's going to come up into the box and make tackles for you. He's not known to be a ball walk as much, but he knows the position. He's good in coverage. He's good at blitzing. I think he's a pretty good safety signing for the Browns. So yeah, I think the Browns overall have had a really, really good offseason so far. Big winners.
No, I completely agree. I think Case Keenum, I don't think he'll challenge Baker Mayfield, but I think he will help him.
Yeah.
I think he'll give him that a bit of experience because Case Keenum's been in the league for a long, long time. I think you look at Austin Hooper, what a great tight end. I think he was the best tight end available.
Oh yeah, by far, definitely.
And then he was the highest paid in the league. And I think he was worth the money, unlike we'll talk about maybe for Miami, like Eric Flowers, not worth the money. I think Austin Hooper definitely was. I think I agree with you in general on that one. Let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys. It's your boys.
Yes, indeed.
It's your boys. Are your boys winners or losers? I have my opinion.
I think this one's really tough. Really, really tough. But I'm just going to say we were winners.
I agree.
I think we were winners. Now, the reason for it, obviously, we lost Robert Quinn, we lost Byron Jones, we lost Malik Collins, we lost some more depth. Not big players, but depth players. But we did re-sign Anthony Brown on a 3-year deal worth $15.5 million. Probably our third cornerback, but a cheap deal. And I like Anthony Brown. A lot of Cowboys fans don't like him, but I think he's very, very quick for a cornerback, a very good slot corner. So I'm glad he's back, and it's a cheap deal. Obviously, franchise tag Dak Prescott. Say what you want on the Dak Prescott story. He will be here long term. It's just sorting out that contract. I think a lot of people are overreacting, saying, "Oh, he wants all this money, and the Cowboys are not willing to pay him." From what I've heard, the impasse is based on the contract length. Dak wants a shorter deal. The Cowboys want a longer deal. But I think that eventually gets worked out, and we still got him. We didn't let him hit the market, thank God. We did let him hit the market Amari Cooper. We re-signed him on a 5-year, $100 million deal. I think it was $60 million guaranteed. Second highest paid wide receiver in the league. But the way they've structured the contract, it's not just like 20 million, 20 million, 20 million. It's a bit cheaper, it's backloaded. And there is actually a get out in it. If you don't want him anymore, you can actually get rid of him with no dead cap. So, interesting move there by the Cowboys to put that in his contract. But yeah, with number one wide receiver, we have to keep all of him, and we have done, so I'm happy about that. We re-signed our kicker, Kai Thorbath, yeah, is what it is, kicker, but when he came in, he was 10 for 10 on field goals, so 100% field goals. Might as well keep him around. Blake Jarwin, we extended Blake Jarwin. I was happy with that. 3-year deal, $24 million. Witten's gone. This guy can be our new starter, and he's a very good receiving tight end. Sean Lee, we kept him on a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. I like the linebacker depth. I do like Sean Lee as a player. He's been here a long time. He's only going to bring that experience. And when he's healthy, he's a very good linebacker. Joe Looney to a 1-year deal, backup centre. Gerald McCoy was our big outer free agent signing from the Panthers on a 3-year deal, $18.3 million, which in my opinion is a bit of a bargain. And because we needed a run stuffer, this guy's been a very good run stuffer for a long time. And then Darian Thompson on a 1-year deal, just a depth safety. So overall, despite we did lose some players, Byron Jones, I think we knew we were going to lose him. So yeah, overall, I think we were winners in free agency so far anyway.
Oh, I agree. And also, I think when the questions came up again about the Cowboys leading into free agency, it wasn't who you were going to get. Yeah. It was more who could you keep hold of. And I think the star men that you wanted to keep hold of, you kept hold of, and that's a win for me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can keep the core of that offense that was really good last year. Maybe the plays weren't good.
No.
But the offense was good. So you've kept everyone intact. I think, obviously, as you say, you lost Byron Jones. Is he replaceable? I think he is.
I think he is, definitely.
I think he is. So I think overall, combined with who you kept, not really I don't think you've made much noise in terms of who you've signed. Very good players. And again, you've not made much noise of who you've let go, apart from Byron Jones. Then that's it. And you get Kai Forbath. Who doesn't want Kai Forbath?
What a guy. Former Minnesota Viking, by the way.
Oh, that's the only reason I said he was good. But no, I agree. Winners, Dallas Cowboys. Next up is the Denver Broncos. Winners or losers?
This one was another tough one, really, because I don't know whether the Broncos are going to try to compete or rebuild. Similar to the Falcons, kind of in that middle section. You could say they're losers, you could say they're winners, but they didn't really lose anybody big. They obviously lost Chris Harris, but he's getting a bit older. He wanted to go to more of a competing team. For what they could do, I think they were winners in terms of signing Graham Glasgow, the offensive guard from the Lions, on a 4-year, $44 million deal. Good young guard. They got back their big guy, Justin Simmons, the safety, on defense. They franchise tagged him, so that's why I got them as winners, because they've kept their main free agent in town and they're going to negotiate a long deal. I also like the two trades that they've done. They got Jarrell Casey from the Titans, a defensive lineman, in exchange for a 7th-round pick, which is nothing, and AJ Boyer, starting corner from the Jags, in exchange for a 4th-round pick. So they've got two really good defensive stars there. They've kept Justin Simmons at safety, and they've signed another offensive lineman to help block for the new QB, Drew Lock.
Yeah, I like most of the deals that the Broncos have done. As we've said for most of them, really, no headliners. I think AJ Boyer is a good player, and I think he's definitely worth it. I think they've been smart with what they've traded away.
Yeah.
In terms of they haven't traded anything massive away, and I don't think you'll get anyone in the 4th or 7th round as good as, for example, AJ Boyer or anyone like that. They've also still got Justin Simmons, so I think it was solid for the Broncos. Nothing special, but a small win, I'd say.
Yeah, small win. Some teams, you've got to look at their cap situation. If they don't have a lot of cap room and they've done well for what money they had available, then it's a win, in my opinion. Whereas if you've got a team that's got a lot of money, who are really, really poor, they could improve, but they're not improving, then it's a loss, in my opinion. But the Broncos have done what they can do with the money they've been given. They've got some good players in. They've kept Justin Simmons, so I think it is a win overall.
I think they're just sensible. That would be my word.
Yeah.
Sensible work from the Broncos. Next up, it's the Detroit Lions, who again recently have traded away Darius Slay to the Philadelphia Eagles. What was it for? Was it a second round?
Third rounder and a fifth rounder for Darius Slay.
Third round and a fifth round.
And he becomes the highest paid cornerback in terms of annual salary.
So they have lost Darius Slay in free agency. Does that change your opinion?
I wouldn't say so, because they were trying to trade him for a long time. They were trying to trade him last offseason. They were trying to trade him at the trade deadline, and they've been trying to trade him all offseason since the season finished back in December. Well, it finished in December for them anyway.
And they replaced him with Desmond Trufant.
Yeah, Desmond Trufant signed a 2-year, $21 million deal, formerly of the Falcons, which I really like the signing. 29 years old, but still a very, very good corner. They've obviously replaced Darius with that move. In overall, I would actually say the Lions are winners for what they could do. Obviously, they signed Jimmy Collins from the Pats on a 3-year, $30 million deal. This guy's a really, really good linebacker, and they needed linebackers desperately. So I think the Jimmy Collins signing is a very good signing for them. Chase Daniel as a backup QB is what it is. You've got Matt Stafford back now. You might look in the draft for another backup, so Chase Daniel. Yeah, it's what it is. Jaron Curse, the safety from the Vikings. I really like this signing. I think he's a really, really good safety. More of a depth safety on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. But a very good signing for the Lions. It's nothing, is it? It's absolutely nothing. Danny Shelton, 2 years, $8 million deal. They're signing from the Pats, defensive lineman, another good run stuffer. They've signed this offensive lineman from the Eagles. I'll try and pronounce his name. Halapoulivaati Vaitai.
Oh, big V.
Big V from the Eagles on a 5-year, $50 million deal. So Big V got a big deal. They traded for
making that big P.
He is making that big P. Jerron Harmon, they traded for him for the Pats. I mean, a lot of Patriots players here. The Lions seem to love themselves some Patriots players. They got it for a 7th-round pick, so that was pretty much nothing. Another good safety on the back end. So, yeah, overall, I think the Lions had a pretty good offseason. But with the Lions, I think it's like, are they aiming to be in the playoffs, or are they trying to tank it? They need to pick the side, really.
I think they've made some solid additions. I think the loss of Darius Slay, for a normal team, we'd say that's a really bad miss, but they've wanted to get rid of him for a while.
Yeah.
So it's no real surprise. But I'd say, again, with some of the deals they made, Big V, Jason Curse, and now obviously they added Desmond Trufant as well, I think they've done okay, and I think once they add some more in the draft, they'll be a better team come next year.
Yeah, they've got that 3rd overall pick, and in my opinion, I don't know what they're going to do with it. Whether they might get Tua, they might get cornerback Jeffrey Okudah, they might get Chase Young.
Do you think they take Jeff Okudah after they just got Jason Curse and Desmond Trufant?
Well, Jalen Curse more of a safety.
Yeah.
Desmond Trufant with that starting corner, but when you look at cornerback depth, I don't think obviously they've got Justin Coleman as well, so they've got 2 good starting corners. It's not a massive need, but it's hard picking at 3 because we don't think Jason's going to be there. If Jason was there, it's the perfect fit for the Lions. So maybe they might look to trade back with the Dolphins. They might look to get an lineman because they lost Ricky Wagner. They lost Graham Glasgow to the Broncos.
I was about to say that too, you know. I was about to say, did he go for example, as we always mention, Mekhi Becton?
Yeah, they could get Mekhi Becton at 5. They could trade back with the Dolphins in game at 5, which would be a brilliant pickup because their offensive line is taking a bit of a hit. But what I see with the Lions, because I think all avenues, whether they want to go with that draft pick, are all open.
Yeah, I'd agree. Next up is the Green Bay Packers, another team from the Minnesota Vikings division. Winners or losers? Because we were talking that they've not really done much.
Not done a right lot. I put them as losers with an asterisk. The asterisk is they were in the AFC Championship game last year. How much can they improve with the lack of cap space? I think the Christian Kirk signing, in my opinion, is a big win. 2 years, $16 million deal, cheap for a good middle linebacker who the Browns released. He had his injury problems, but that's a very good linebacker for them to replace Blake Martinez. Mercedes Lewis, 1-year deal, $2.5 million. You know, that deal is what it is. He's getting it all, but it's just a depth signing. And Rick Wagner, they're signing from obviously the Detroit Lions, offensive tackle. That's some more offensive lineman depth to replace Brian Bulaga. Overall, I've got them as losers. I think they could do better at getting some wide receivers. maybe a better tight end than Martinez Lewis. I know they're in the running for Austin Hooper. They didn't get him. But yeah, it's always tough with a team that's in the NFC Championship game where they can improve, but they need weapons in for Aaron Rodgers desperately.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they've filled all their needs during free agency. I think some of the signings you said that they made, like Christian Kirksey, that's a good one in my opinion. But they lost Brian Bulaga, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost him to the Chargers.
Yeah, exactly. So, they lost a few important players. I agree with you to an extent. Slight losers, but as you say, could they really go anywhere?
No, the only hope for me now in this team is consistent offensive weapons. They have Devante Adams. After that, it's question marks. They need to get some more weapons in for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones is a good running back, but we'll have to see. Maybe they target someone in the draft.
When it comes to the Green Bay Packers, in terms of when it came to free agency, do you think for them to bolster, they needed the bigger names, but they didn't have the cap space to get any?
Possibly. I mean, last offseason they spent a lot of cash on their defense. They got Zadarius Smith, and Preston Smith, and Adrian Amos. So they made 3 massive splashes at defense in last year's offseason, and that left them a bit cap strong. But like I said, for what they could have done, it's not a bad offseason. Christian Kirk's a nice signing, and the other two were just like average depth signings in my opinion. Rick Wagner might be starting a right tackle after the lost Balaga. But yeah, I think maybe if they sign a wide receiver for agency, or maybe in the draft they get a good one, they might be able to just turn that off season from losers to winners. But we'll have to see.
Well, yeah, small losers maybe.
Small losers. It's tough. Teams like that, where can they improve really? But yeah, I've just got them as small losers, maybe ineligible.
Next up, the Houston Texans. Winners or losers? I think I know where this is going.
Houston Texans, big losers.
Massive losers. I was hoping you'd go there because there's only really one deal from the Texans that makes them massive losers, and it's losing DeAndre Hopkins for not even a first-round pick.
I don't know what on earth Bill O'Brien is trading away him not even getting a first-round pick. Yeah, they got David Johnson running back from the Cardinals in that trade, but DeAndre Hopkins, man, he's one of the best receivers in the league, and you let him go for absolutely nothing. The Texans are big losers in my opinion. They signed Bradley Roby to a contract extension. I think they give him more than he's worth. Darren Fells, they re-signed him on a 2-year deal. They re-signed their kicker. They got a backup QB in. They got signed another couple from my Dallas Cowboys, but they give him $9 million a year. Is he worth that? I don't think so. I just don't know what the Texans' plan is here. I really don't. And if I was Deshaun Watson, I'd be considering not resigning.
I was about to say, this leaves a lot of question marks for Deshaun Watson, and it leaves a lot of question marks over the Texans franchise in general, because without DeAndre Hopkins, their offense is not the same.
No way. They've got a starting running back now, but they don't have a number one receiver anymore. So it's kind of like, where do they go from here? Maybe the draft. We'll see what they have to do. We'll see what they do in the draft. But in fact, they don't have a pick. They don't have any picks in the draft. So what am I about? They don't even have a first-round pick. They could have got a first-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, but they didn't. So they're not picking until pick 57 in the draft. The Texans are in a good spot at the moment, and I'm interested to see how they rebound, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I hope Deshaun Watson's got a strong back because he might have to carry his team through a season. And also, when it comes to, we'll talk about it just a little bit, when it comes to Bill O'Brien, there was rumours and reports last week, or was it just earlier this week actually, that the reason he didn't like DeAndre Hopkins in terms of as a human being, he said apparently they had a meeting. And then in that meeting, Bill O'Brien said, DeAndre Hopkins has said this got blown out of proportion, by the way.
Yeah.
But he did say, apparently he said to DeAndre Hopkins, I haven't had to have a meeting like this since Aaron Hernandez. Now that is something you don't say.
It's a blasphemous comment. I mean, how can you compare DeAndre Hopkins, who's, from what I've seen, a good human being, to Aaron Hernandez, who killed someone and he was locked up for a long time? It doesn't add up really, and he also said something like he doesn't like his baby mamas being around the franchise, something like that. But I think it's just O'Brien being petty, really, and I think he's a terrible GM. I think he is.
Yeah, and I just don't think there were two people that were never going to see eye to eye.
No.
And as I say, Hopkins has said that it got blown out of proportion. Maybe it did, But if that was something that got said, I can understand someone being offended by it. I'd be offended if I got compared to, politely, a good wide receiver, but a bad person.
Yeah.
I said to you that the comparisons between the two, it was wide receiver, and that's it. That's the only comparison you can make. They played the same position. That's it. But we'll move on from that, and we'll move to the Indianapolis Colts, the new home of Philip Rivers, who personally I think they massively overpaid for a year. But what's your opinion?
I've actually got the Colts as winners. I actually do.
Is it purely because of Philip Rivers, or is that other deals?
No, well, let's start with Philip Rivers. They signed him on a 1 year, $25 million deal from the Chargers. I don't hate this move as much as many people do. Now, the reason before it, it's a 1 year deal. If he's crap, you let him walk it next offseason. You're not missing out on a much. Not like you give him a massive deal where he's locked up for a long time.
But it is $25 million.
The Nick Foles. It is, but quarterbacks, that's the going rate. Quarterbacks, they cost a lot, and that's how it is. And the Colts, they're not struggling with cap room at the moment. It's the Indianapolis Colts. I know a lot of people are saying they should get Jadeveon Clowney. They should sign all these big names because they've got a lot of cap room. But the Colts, they're a very good run franchise, and they just keep money until they see nice players in free agency that fit their scheme and they can pay. So Philip Rivers behind, in my opinion, a top three offensive line in the league, which is the Colts. I think he'll have a really, really good season next season. I know they don't have a lot of weapons, but I think he will improve from the season he just had with the Chargers, who don't have a very good offensive line. He was getting hit a lot. So I'll be interested to see how he rebounds with the offensive line behind him. In front of him, I think he will have a pretty good season. They re-signed Anthony Costanzo to a 2 year, $33 million contract. I like this move. One of the better left tackles in the league. Yeah, one of the better left tackles in the league. They needed to keep him around. Solidifying the offensive line. Their big move was a trade, and I really, really like this trade for both parties, to be honest. It's DeForest Buckner. They acquired him in a trade with the 49ers. They only gave up the first round. Well, I say only. They gave up the 13th overall pick in this year's draft to get him, and also signed him to a $20 million per season contract straight after the trade. So apparently, according to Ian Rappaport, this deal has been in the works since the Super Bowl. So it's been in the works a long, long time. And the Colts get themselves a young, very good defensive tackle who's going to be their franchise DT for a long time. And the 49ers, who couldn't really afford to pay any more people, after paying Eric Armstead, they get that first round pick and maybe get a wide receiver.
Yeah, it was between 1 and number 2, wasn't it? It was between you either sign Eric, get rid of DeForest, sign DeForest, get rid of Eric Armstead. It was what they were left, between a rock and a hard place. But again, we talked about if there was one team we didn't expect because of lack of picks to have 2 first rounders, it wasn't going to be the 49ers.
No.
But they've ended up in that position. I do agree that some of the deals they made were good. I think the Costanzo deal was good. I think the DeForest Buckner deal was incredible.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a first round pick, but the Colts have a lot of picks from what I know.
Well, they've got 2 picks in the second round anyway. And DeForest Buckner, you're giving up a first round pick for a very good player who's still very young. You draft first round defensive tackle in this year. You're hoping he turns out to be DeForest Buckner. You've got the best case scenario of, for example, Javon Kinlaw or Derek Brown. You've got on your team now on a long term deal. So I think the Colts get winners here in the offseason.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. The Philip Rivers I'll remain indifferent on, but the other signings they made were very good. We'll move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Winners or losers? Because they had a lot of question marks. We've talked already about Calais Campbell, who has moved to the Baltimore Ravens for a 3rd round pick?
5th round pick.
3rd round and a 5th round?
What, for Calais Campbell?
Yeah.
It was just a 5th round pick on its own.
Oh my God, just a 5th round. God, I'm giving him too much credit. Go on, what do you think about Jacksonville? Because obviously they've still got Yannick Ngakoue, who they franchise tagged. He may end up staying. We don't know.
Maybe. He's looking more likely now with teams losing cap room, depending on free agents. He might end up staying there.
Yeah.
So I've got the Jags. Take into account they are rebuilt. They're not competing. I've just got them as winners really for what they could have done. I know I'm giving out a lot of winners here, but like I said, they're rebuilding. They got Dak Wisdenard on a contract from the Bengals on a 3 year, $13.5 million deal. In my opinion, that's a really, really cheap deal, a nice deal. Pardon me. To fill the holes of Jalen Ramsey and Adrian Boyer at cornerback. He's not as good as those, but he's a very good value cornerback, and I think that's a cheap deal. Just over, they signed him the linebacker from the Browns on a 5-year, $53.75 million contract, $22.5 million guaranteed. That was their big off-season acquisition. I think he's a very, very good linebacker. Makes a lot of tackles, tackling machine, and I think it's a very, very good pickup for the Jags. Tyler Shatley, they re-signed him on a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. It is what it is to re-sign. And obviously, like you said, they tagged in Ngakwe. So we'll have to see what happens with Ngakwe. But for what they could have done, and they are rebuilding, they're not looking to make massive splashes anyway, because why spend loads of money on players when you're looking to rebuild? So for what they could have done, it's a win. And
also
a ton of draft picks.
I was going to say, and also Nick Foles, they managed to get rid of a quarterback they didn't want.
Yeah,
exactly. But they've got a lot of dead money. I will caveat that with they have got a lot of dead money, which doesn't make it. It still makes it worth it, but I think in the end they lost 18 million in just dead money that meant nothing. So they didn't want him around. Yeah, they're going to move forward with Gardner Minshew. Sorry, carry on.
And that might come off the cap. It lagged out for a bit there. He started speeding up for some reason. It just froze. But they got rid of Nick Foles. Obviously, that cap hit, that dead cap will leave the cap after the next season. I think it is. But the most important thing was getting his salary off the books. And they only got a 5th round pick, but obviously they want to go ahead with Gardner Minshew, so still need him on the roster anymore.
And we'll just quickly touch on the Jacksonville Jaguars draft picks. By the way, the Browns are giving Andrew Billings a 1-year deal, just as we're recording here today. The Jags have 2 first rounds at number 9 and number 20. Number 42, number 73. They've got 3 fourth round picks. They've got 116, 118, and 140. 2 fifth rounds in 165, 170. 2 sixth rounds at 189 and 206. And a round 7 at 223. They also have 2 first round picks in 2021. And Yannick Ngakoue, if he does get franchise tagged and traded away, they might receive even more draft picks for that.
Might receive another 2nd round pick or a 1st round pick for him. Trading Jalen Ramsey was tough for them, but they got a lot of picks and it's showing in the draft. They're going to have a lot of selections. Some breaking news here as well. Joe Flacco has been released by the Broncos.
Oh, well, I don't think that'll change the winners and losers, but
Drew Lock can tell. It's Drew Lock's team going forward now.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely say so. We'll move on, because we've talked about Jacksonville. We'll go to the Kansas City Chiefs. How about them Chiefs? Winners of the Super Bowl needed to do nothing, really, because they've got the best team in the league. But we'll touch on Chris Jones, because Chris Jones, did he get franchise tagged?
Chris Jones got franchise tagged.
Has he been traded yet?
No, he's still on the team.
No, he's still on the scene, so they haven't quite lost him yet, so they'll have him next year if everything stays the way it goes. So, Chiefs, winners or losers? I don't really know with this one.
I mean, again, they've just won the Super Bowl, so what can they do to improve the roster? They lost Kendall Fuller, their cornerback, to the Redskins, which might hurt them a little bit. Yeah. But they've re-signed Damien Williams to a cheap deal, who was almost Super Bowl MVP. I've just got as winner because they didn't lose any massive players. They didn't add any massive players, but the Super Bowl winners and get Chris Jones on the roster, so they've done what they needed to do, really.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl. Well,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So not much to talk about on the Chiefs, really. I feel a bit bad, but it was like.
It's what it is. The winners, they don't need to make any big differences. You see the team spending big money in free agency. It's because they need to sign they need to sign the players to compete. The Chiefs, they've just won the Super Bowl. They've got the players to compete on the roster already, so they didn't lose anyone.
No, they don't need anyone at all.
And they do have a 1st round pick as well. So.
Oh, of course. And next is the LA Chargers. This is a team that I was studying last night. They franchise tagged Hunter Henry, their tight end. They signed Brian Bulaga, the offensive tackle, for $30 million over 3 years. Linval Joseph, the defensive tackle out of Minnesota, on 2 years and $17 million. And they also recently got Chris Harris. Was it from Denver?
Yeah, on a cheap deal as well.
Yeah, at cornerback. The LA Chargers, I'm going to give them just a win.
Right.
I think I'm going to give them a win. I think, obviously, lost Phillip Rivers, but that doesn't matter. I think Hunter Henry, franchise tagging him, that's fine. You get another year out of him, and I doubt he's going to be traded. I think the Joseph one at defensive tackle is a very good signing. I think Chris Harris will help them at cornerback. And Brian Bulaga to give some protection. I'm not sure who for, though.
That's the big question, isn't it? But they do have the sixth overall pick. Looks like Justin Herbert might be their starting quarterback next season.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a quarterback at first pick. But what would you say for the Chargers? Because I personally have them as winners. I think just about.
I think I've got them as winners as well, because they've added some nice players. And who have they really lost? They've not lost any massive names, have they? Really?
Oh, not really.
Philip Rivers. I mean, is he a massive name? They're looking to rebuild on at QB at the QB position anyway. I like the Chris Harris deal. I like the Linval Joseph deal. I like the re-signing of Eckler. I think Brian Bulaga is a really good offensive tackle, bringing him some good protection. And the trade, they got offensive guard Try Turner in the trade, who I think is a better player than Russell Okung, who they gave up. I think it's a good offseason for the Chargers.
And also Melvin Gordon's still on the market as well.
Yep.
Next up, it's the LA Rams. From what I can see, they've not done much.
No.
I'm going to have them as losers because they've not really done much. They've re-signed Andrew Whitworth. They signed Leonard Floyd, the pass rusher, for a year on $10 million. I don't know if anything you can name, but that's pretty much it from the Rams.
They got Ashawn Robinson on a 2-year, $17 million deal from the Lions, defensive tackle. But I'm with you. I don't think they did a massive lot, really. And Todd Gurley, he's looking like he might be traded, which would be a massive, massive shock. I
did see that, and I did see that they might be trading him away, which would make them even more losers than they already are. But yeah, I didn't see much from the Rams, really.
No, it's maybe another team that's not got a lot of cap room and they can't do a right lot. And their big priority is re-signing Jalen Ramsey, who's going to want to break the bank. He's licking his lips, seeing about Byron Jones get that money and Darius Slay getting that money because he's going to want more than them. He could get upwards of $17 million a year, Jalen Ramsey. So they need to start looking how we're going to pay him, and we can't be handing out big salaries to players this offseason.
No, definitely not. And to be honest, the surprising thing is when the Rams they didn't have a year like the Chiefs, but they just don't have the cap room to improve.
Yeah, that's it. The cap room, and Jared Goff's taking up a lot of that cap room, and he's underperforming. So they need to get Jared Goff playing at a high level again, and we'll see how they do. But in terms of off-season acquisitions, nothing massive, but they've got some decent players, and they re-signed their left tackle. So it's just one of those off seasons really where it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah, a little bit, to be honest with you. Next up is the Las Vegas Raiders. They have moved to Las Vegas, and they have moved with a lot of players as well. You named some more that I didn't quite get down that have moved from, I think it was some from the Cowboys, actually, that you named. But I'll start with some of them. Corey Littleton, linebacker, 3-year on $35.25 million. You've got Malik Collins, the defensive tackle, Marcus Mariota at quarterback to create some challenge for Derek Carr, Nick Kwiatkowski, linebacker, and Eli Apple. And there was some more that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Malik Collins. You mentioned Jeff Heath?
I did not mention Jeff Heath.
So they signed Jeff Heath on a 2-year, $8 million deal. Nice backup safety. And Jason Witten. He's an old tight end. I don't understand that signing, to be honest with you.
No, but I think overall, winners, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think
probably.
they've improved all across the board, but
they need wide receivers.
Yeah, and they haven't done massive in terms of when they were moving to Vegas. Everyone thought, "Oh, this is it. They're going to go out. They're going to get the biggest names. They're going to, bring the crowd over with them. Win people over."
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota is a good quarterback. He'll be challenging for Derek Carr, but I'll just give them the win because I like the Corey Littleton deal.
Corey Littleton deal is a really, really good signing, I think, especially for the money they paid for him. He was more backup for the Rams, but getting that starting spot, I think when we were predicting the free agency signings a few months ago now, I think it was. I think we said Corey Littleton to the Raiders makes too much sense for it not to happen, and it has happened. So good signing.
I'll just about give them a win.
Yeah. And look, they might get Jerry Jeudy in the draft, which would be brilliant for them.
We'll talk about winners and losers from the draft when it comes around, but if they got Jerry Jeudy, that is a massive win.
Yeah.
Next up, it's the team with all the cap room, Miami Dolphins. Right, let me get my breath, because here we go. Eric Flowers, 3 years for $30 million. Shaq Lawson, defensive end, 3 years, $30 million. Byron Jones, cornerback, 5 years, $82.5 million. Cal Van Noy, 4 years for $51 million. Emmanuel Ogbah, 2 years at $15 million. Gruger Hill, linebacker, 1 year, not sure on the contract just about. I know it's 1 year though. Jordan Howard, 2 years, $10 million. Ted Karras, 1 year, $4 million. And Elander Roberts, who I didn't get the contract details for. I mean, for me, that's a massive win for Miami because they needed strength all across the board and they've improved everywhere.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think you missed anyone. Did you miss anyone?
I don't know. I listed half the NFL.
Yeah, they needed to completely reboot their roster, and they have done, and they've signed some quality players. I think Baron Jones, Cal Van Noy being the main ones.
Yeah.
New running back in Jordan Howard, two nice head rushers in Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ogba. But I think they were in the same draft class, to be honest with you. But yeah, overall they've done pretty well. The Eric Flowers deal is a bit questionable. I think $10 million for him is not a very good deal. But apart from that, they've got some really, really good players this offseason, to be fair.
I don't think we saw the best of Eric Flowers in the last couple of years, but before that, he was a decent player, and I think it'll just about work for him.
He was a first round pick, picked ahead of Todd Gurley, picked ahead of many good players, picked ahead of Byron Jones, who they actually signed to the big contract. But yeah, their defense is looking very, very nice now. They've still got Xavier Howard, who's a star cornerback, but I think the draft for them is going to be interesting. Did they get Tua in there? Did they get a new starting running back? I know they signed Jordan Howard, but they might want that 1-2 punch. Maybe we like a DeAndre Swift. So the Dolphins, very, very exciting offseason for them, and we'll have to see how they do. Obviously, with them 14 draft picks.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a win for the Dolphins, in my opinion. Next up, it's my Minnesota Vikings, and again, I feel I'm going to have to take my breath here because we did quite a lot of deals, none of them actually signing players, but Kirk Cousins got extended. He got an extra 2 years because his contract was up next year, but now he's got an extra 2 years. I think it's $32 million a year. Something
like that, yeah. Decent deal.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years at $96 million.
Yeah.
Anthony Harris has been tagged. He's going to be traded, is what the rumours are saying. Was it the Browns or the Bears that were interested in him?
The Browns.
The Browns were interested in Anthony Harris. Xavier Rhodes got cut. Linval Joseph got cut and then went to the Chargers. Trey Waynes has gone to the Bengals. Stephon Diggs went to the Bills for a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick and a fifth-round pick and a next year fourth-round pick, I think.
A whole draft, basically.
Yeah. Josh Klein got terminated. CJ Ham, we re-signed him. Eric Wilson, we put a second-round tender on. And we just signed Michael Pierce for 3 years for $27 million. Did we win or lose? I'm going to go lose.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go lose, in my opinion. Just because we got, basically, in terms of the trades we were doing, we haven't signed anyone, really, apart from recently Michael Pierce.
Pierce is a nice signing for 3 years.
He is, but we have lost some good players as well in that trade. I mean, Stephon Diggs is as well, but we needed to create cap room was the problem because we didn't have enough of it going into the free agency. And I mean, we still don't have enough of it now. We've only got 18 million. But we do have an extra first-round pick, so we now have first two first-rounders, I should say.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because I'm leaning on loss, I'll be honest.
I don't think you're massive losers. Obviously, you've got rid of Xavier Rhodes, who was on a pretty big deal. Same with Linval Joseph, so you freed up cap room there. I think you might look to bring back Everson Griffin on a cheaper deal. But you've kept Anthony Harris around, who many people thought you were going to lose. If you do trade him, you're still going to get some picks for him. Michael Pierce, I think, is a brilliant signing, defensive tackle. Replaces Linval Joseph, and he's a very good nose tackle. Eric Wilson, you put a second-round tender on him, so I'll have to see what happens with him. CJ Ham, I know you like CJ Ham at the fullback position. He's sticking around. Again, you've re-signed Kirk. You lost Stephon Diggs. But I'm interested to see. I think with the Vikings now, it's what they do with those two picks. Do they trade one away? I think definitely you need to get a wide receiver in there. Cornerback's another option. I think cornerbacks you're pretty weak on. And offensive lineman, you could do with some more offensive linemen. You still might sign a cornerback who was out from free agency because there's still some really good corners in free agency. We'll have to wait and see with the Vikings. I think it's a tough one. It really is a tough one, but it is a tough one because you've let go of some really good players, but you've kept Anthony Harris and you've signed Pierce.
I said personally, like when it comes to the draft, I think the first two picks, an offensive lineman and a wide receiver, and you can get a decent enough corner in the second round.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
I mean, those are the three positions really you need.
yeah, we need a lot of things, but I'm going to go with minor losers, not massive losers, but minor losers.
Yeah,
We'll talk now about the New England Patriots. We'll go kind of quickly over this because they didn't do too much. Brady's gone to the BUCS. Joe Thuney got franchise tagged. They signed Bo Allen, the defensive tackle. They signed Bird, the wide receiver. McCourty re-signed. Slater got extended. I'm going to give the Patriots a loss.
I would give them a loss as well.
They lost their franchise quarterback. I don't know who's going to be their quarterback next year. They're thinking it's the backup. Is it Joe?
Oh, what's he called now?
Oh, I can't remember his name either. But they're going to go with the backup who maybe Bill Belichick can mould into Brady. You never know. But yeah, I don't think I saw enough from there. I think I'm going to give them a loss.
Yeah, and they still don't have a lot of weapons, the Patriots. I can't name one tight end on their roster. They kept Devin McCourty around, but he's getting older. He's not going to be there long term. However, this is my interesting plan for the Patriots. You tank this season and you get yourself Trevor Lawrence, and then we'll see Trevor Lawrence with Bill Belichick, and that will be a very scary sight.
But can you imagine the Patriots are a team that want to tank? I don't think Belichick's the coach that wants to tank.
He's not, but you've got to look at your roster and think, can we challenge with this team? And I know Bill Belichick's the master of winning games with players that are average, but can he do it without his partner in crime, Tom Brady, who's been there 20 years? You've got to look at the team sometimes and think, are we just better off tanking, getting those high picks, rebuilding? And they'll have a lot of cap room, the Patriots, just from letting Brady go and not signing big free agents. But this season will be interesting to see how the Patriots do without Tom Brady. It's going to be weird seeing Tom Brady in the Buccaneers uniform, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and as much as we want to see the Vikings and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, a Brady Tampa Bay versus a New England Patriots at Raymond James Stadium would be a hell of a sight to behold.
It would be, but I don't think it's going to happen, I'm afraid.
No. We'll go and now move to the Saints. Again, not much deals in terms from the Saints. He signed Malcolm Jenkins, 4 years for $35 million. Kiko Alonso staying. Onyemata re-signed, and Teddy Bridgewater obviously moved out to the Panthers. Just average for the Saints, I think.
Yeah, just kind of average. I like the Malcolm Jenkins signing on a 4-year deal. I think he brings veteran leadership. David Onyemata, I think re-signing him was very big because he's an underrated defensive lineman, and they keep him around. They keep Taysom Hill around, and they keep Drew Brees around, which everybody knew was going to happen anyway because these 2 years could be his last 2 years.
Yeah, do you know what? I'll give him a win for that. Because they kept Drew Brees for another 2 years. I'll give him a win. Go on, you can have a win.
Yeah,
we knew he was going to stay there anyway, but
the win that they wouldn't have got against, that they still can't get against the Vikings.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Next up, it's the New York Jets, who I had everyone going to in free agency. And it's fair to say it's gone the complete wrong way around. You can tell I've only been a fan a year. Connor McGovern? I can't say this.
Connor McGovern.
McGovern, there we go. Centre, 3 years, $27 million. Brian Poole re-signs for 1 year for $5 million. And George Fant, the offensive tackle, for 3 years. I like the signing of George Fant.
Yeah.
But with the Jets, can I put them average again?
I think they're losers.
Go on. Yeah, no, I was leaning more towards losers or average, but I do like that George Fant deal.
The George Fant deal is nice, but you could tell they were targeting Balaga, they were targeting Conklin. They wanted some really nice offensive linemen, and they've swung and missed, in my opinion. And Robbie Anderson's still on the open market. They don't have they have the weapons for Sam Darnold. I'm questioning that. Obviously, they still have Le'Veon Bell, but that defense is not looking very good, I don't think. Apart from you've got CJ Mosley, but I don't think they've done enough. I mean, we laugh at the Jets for signing everybody in free agency, but sometimes you can't just spend loads of money 1 year and then drop off the next year, because it's kind of like, are you competing or are you tanking? Pick one or the other. I like the George Fant, but maybe I was giving him too much credit, and they'll take the L on this one. Next up, it's the New York Giants, who I'm going to put it out there. I think have won. I think they've
Blake
lost.
Martin. What, you think they've lost?
I do. I like the players have signed. I think they've overpaid them. I think they've just done the same as the team I mentioned earlier. They just overpaid their players.
See, I've got to admit, I do like the players they've signed, though. They did sign Blake Martinez, 3 years at $30 million. I think James Bradbury, 3 years at $45 million. Yeah, actually, a bit too much, but I do think they're very good players. They tagged Leonard Williams, and they also got Cam Fleming, offensive tackle. I like the deals. I know they're expensive and they're overpriced, but I'm going to give them a win for the players they got.
I like the Martinez deal. I do think he's a very underrated linebacker, and they needed linebacker depth. I couldn't name one linebacker on their roster before they got Martinez, but he will now be their middle linebacker. Bradbury's a nice cornerback, but you're paying him top of the market cornerback like he's a top 10 corner when he's not. He's had a really good season with the Panthers, but that's a lot of money to pay for James Bradbury. Obviously kept Leonard Williams around, and the Cam Fleming signings is a backup tackle, in my opinion. If Cam Fleming's starting for you, you've done something wrong. Not to be harsh or anything, but I think he's a very good swing tackle backup player. But yeah, the players, like I said, they're nice that they've signed, but they were targeting Byron Jones, and they missed out on Byron Jones, I think. They were targeting Corey Little. They've missed out on Corey Littleton as well, so they've set off a Blake Martinez. I think they're just about losers. Nice players, but spent a lot of money.
They did. We differ on that one. I think that's the first one we might have differed on.
Yeah.
I'm going to go win because of the players. You're going to go lost because of money spent, and that. I think they're both fair enough points, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're decent players, but I can't justify $15 million a year for James Bradbury. He's a good cornerback, but he's not a standout.
He's not up there with Jones, etc. Next up is the Philadelphia Eagles, who recently acquired Darius Slay, obviously. So that might change my opinion, and I'll be honest, it kind of has. Javon Hargrave, who knows? Defensive tackle, 3 years at $39 million. Rodney McLeod at safety, 2 years at $12 million. Jalen Mills, 1 year cornerback, and Darius Slay, obviously, alongside Jalen Mills that they've now got. I'm going to give the Eagles, because of that recent Darius Slay, a win.
I'm actually going to give them a win just based off that trade as well.
Yeah, they saved it, I think, there, to be honest with you.
I think they did. Javon Hargrave is a nice signing, a defensive tackle to put next to Fletcher Cox. They've re-signed McLeod, and they re-signed Jalen Mills, who was a cornerback last year, but apparently they're moving him to safety. Yeah, Jenkins was a bit of a big loss for them, but that Darius Slay trade, they needed corners. He's a very, very good corner. They gave up, obviously, the 3rd round pick and the 5th round pick for him, and give him a huge deal. But sometimes you've got to overpay for the top of the range players. Like, I'd rather have Darius Slay for $16.5 million than James Bradbury for $15 million. I'll put that out there. The big hole I just see on the Eagles now is wide receivers. They need to get some wide receivers in desperately in the draft. I could see him trading up on draft night to get someone like Henry Ruggs. I really, really could.
Well, they need it, and I don't think in their position there's going to be anyone dropping. Maybe they wait for Laviska Shenault in the 2nd round.
Maybe, but you need to get that marquee player in. Laviska Shenault's a nice wide receiver, but Alshon Jeffrey apparently could be getting released, and you saw last season, you need to surround Nick Foles with talent. They lost Jordan Howard as well at the running back position, who was a good player for them. So they need to get offensive weapons in for me, in my opinion. They've got the good corner. They've got some nice safeties. Their defensive tackle is stellar. It's always been brilliant for the Eagles, and they've made it even stronger with Hargrave. But they need some wide receivers in desperate.
They do indeed. Next up, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They tagged Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
They put Mike Hilton on a 2nd round tender. I think they lost.
They're a team with no cap room really, but again, they're 8-8. You'd like to see them improve quite a bit. Bud Dupree, they keep him around, and Derek Watt's a fullback. You know, what I mean, he's not going to impact the game a lot. I probably agree with you. I think it is a bit of a loss. And
there's not much to really say because they didn't do much.
No.
So we'll move on from the Steelers. Apologies you didn't get much time, but there's nothing really to talk about.
I think it's a loss.
The 49ers are up next. Emmanuel Sanders, still a free agent. They signed Jimmy Ward at safety for 3 years at $28.5 million. Arik Armstead re-signed at 5 years at $85 million. And DeForest Buckner, obviously, they gave to Colts for a 1st round pick. I'm torn on the 49ers because they lost DeForest Buckner and they're losing Emmanuel Sanders.
Well, they might not lose Emmanuel Sanders yet. He's still available to re-sign.
Yeah, but they made the Super Bowl with the team they had, and they got one of them players back, and obviously Jimmy Ward as well. I'm going to give them a small win. No.
I think they are winners.
I'm going to give them a small win.
Because Arik Armstead was their leading sack. He was leading their team in sacks. They got him back on a nice deal, so he's going to be there for the long run. Ben Garland, re-signed to a 1 year deal, their centre. Jimmy Ward, a safety, they re-signed a 3 year deal, $28 million. I like that signing because going into the off-season, people were saying 49ers can't afford him. He's going to leave, and he's going to be a very, very good safety for another team. He's staying on the 49ers, solidifying that back end for that defense. I think it's really good. Yeah, they lost Buckner, but you can't pay everybody, and they've got that 13th overall pick. They could get a CD Lamb, and imagine a CD Lamb on the 49ers would be a sight to see.
So yeah, no, we'll put them as winners. I agree. I think small winners. I think DeForest Buckner though, he was coach's MVP, he was player's MVP.
He's a great player, but like you said, you either pay Armstead or you pay Buckner, and they obviously wanted to pay Armstead instead.
Yeah, they chose the one they wanted. Next up, it's the Seattle Seahawks. Bruce Irvin, defensive end, they signed him. BJ Finney, offensive lineman, 2 years at $9.5 million. Luke Wilson, the tight end, re-signed, and Jaron Reed, the defensive tackle, re-signs for 2 years and $23 million. I'm going to give them an average, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think there was much they could do. Most of their team was injured last year, so that'll feel like new signings.
Yeah.
When they come back in, I think for the Seahawks, decent window. Yeah, I'm just going to give them an average. I can't give them anything else.
Jaron Reed's a nice sign. Well, they re-signed him, defensive tackle. I think he's a very underrated defensive tackle. 2 year, $23 million contract. I do like that re-signing a lot. Other than that, like you say, not a lot to say on the Seahawks, really.
No, but yeah, they've done what they had to do. They're not a team that needs a humongous improvement. So come next year, they'll probably be, I think, the same as this year. We'll move on to the big team that signed the biggest player in free agency, and that was Tampa Bay, who signed Tom Brady. They also franchise tagged Shaq Barrett, and as far as I know, he's not going anywhere.
No, well, the franchise tag doesn't always mean you're going to trade the player. Basically, it stops the player from hitting the open market, so you can negotiate a long-term deal with Shaq Barrett, and I think you've got about till July 15th to do that.
And they also re-signed Pierre Paul, their defensive end, for 2 years, $27 million. Tampa Bay winners.
Big winners.
I can winners. Not even just the fact you got Brady. You got shirt sales. You got ticket sales. You got you'll have people flocking to your stadium to watch Tom Brady play. Look at the players he's playing. He's playing Drew Brees, I think twice. He's playing Patrick Mahomes. He's playing Kirk Cousins. He's playing Matt Ryan. All these dream matchups. Obviously, he doesn't get to play the Patriots, but I think it's just a win for the team. It's a win for the franchise. It's a win for the fans.
Yeah, and they keep both their edge rushers on defense as well. And apparently, I've been hearing rumors that Tom Brady's been recruiting players to come to the BUCS, and the Buccaneers. There's a lot of players that wanting to play for the Buccaneers now that Brady's there. Yeah. So he's brought a lot of interest for players. So it's a massive win for the BUCS. They've got the main free agent, and they've kept their two biggest ones themselves.
Exactly, and as long as it's not Antonio Brown, I don't mind who comes. Anyway, we'll move on because they're massive winners of Tampa Bay. Maybe the biggest winners.
Yeah, they're up there. They're up there with who did we mention earlier that were big winners?
The Cardinals got a big win.
That's it. Yeah, the Cardinals big winners.
The Cardinals got a big win. But next up, another team that I think has won, the Tennessee Titans, because they re-signed Ryan Tannehill for 4 years on $118 million. Unanswered questions: is he a one-season wonder? We don't know. But they franchise tagged Derrick Henry so they can sort him out next year, which is good enough. Dennis Kelly, offensive tackle, for 3 years at $21 million, and Vic Beasley for 1 year at $9.5 million. Titans winners.
Yeah, I agree. Winners. They've kept their starting QB. They've kept their best player, Derrick Henry. Vic Beasley, I like on that 1 year contract because he's shown he can be a very, very good pass rusher. Dennis Kelly keeping that offensive line intact with a nice team-friendly deal. Titans are winners, in my opinion.
I completely agree. So that was simple enough because they kept their star two players. Next up, it's the Washington Redskins. Obviously, they signed running back DJ testing my pronunciations here.
J.D. McKissick.
That's the one, thank you. 2 years. They signed the franchise tag Brandon Scherf. Kendall Fuller, cornerback, 4 years at $40 million. Thomas Davis, linebacker, the former Charger. Sean Davis at safety for 1 year and $5 million. I'm going to give him a win. Not a big win.
Yeah.
Not a big win.
I think it's a minor win. It's a minor win.
Yeah, it's a minor win. I think Brandon Scherf getting tagged, good deal. I like the Kendall Fuller deal. Maybe $10 million a year for a cornerback. It's not too bad.
I do really like that deal, to be fair.
I don't think that's too bad at all.
They actually traded him away to get Alex Smith a few years ago.
Yeah. Was it 4 years ago they did that?
2 years ago, I think it was.
2 years ago. When are you?
And then they've re-signed him to a nice deal. He had a really, really good Super Bowl. And I think it's a pretty big loss for the Chiefs, to be honest. Like I said, he was the Chiefs' only loss. But a big win. A big win for the Redskins
Washington
getting back.
Redskins, yeah. I think
getting Kendall Fuller back.
I think that's a massive win for them. And we'll finally finish the episode with some of the players that Will's going to mention here that are still free agents, but,
could get signed.
Could get snagged and is still available. So name some of them and we may be able to say,
where they fit.
Where they fit.
Yeah, so it's one of the players that we're still on the market, which I'm very surprised about. I know Kieran will be surprised about as well. Jadeveon Clowney's still a free agent. I don't know who's going to sign him.
Injury issues, I think, is the problem there because they can't do proper physicals with Jadeveon Clowney. Didn't he have a core muscle injury?
I think so, but I think he just wants too much money. He wants $22 million, and apparently the market isn't as big for him because teams don't want to pay his asking price. So
yeah,
we'll have to see with him. And Ndamukong Suh, good defensive tackle. He's still on the free agent market. No one seems to want him. Robbie Anderson, probably the second best wide receiver behind Amari Cooper in free agency.
Emmanuel Sanders is another one.
Emmanuel Sanders is there. Melvin Gordon, Logan Ryan, cornerback from the Tennessee Titans. Brilliant player. Like you say, Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is a tough one because he's getting a bit old, but he can still really play well. Maybe the 49ers bring him back, maybe they don't, but they've got that first round pick now where they might want a CeeDee Lamb or a Jerry Jeudy. Jameis, your boy Jameis is still on the market. No one seems to want Jameis.
Here you go. Right, here it is. I'll defend my boy famous Jameis till the end of time. Right. I heard something the other day which I liked. Pittsburgh Steelers behind Ben Roethlisberger.
You know what? It's not a bad shout because they don't really have a very good backup option. Obviously, they've got Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph, but looking into the future, I don't think they could be starters for him. So I think, yeah.
And also, right, here we go. Bruce Arians, okay? Is it a Jameis problem or is it a Bruce Arians problem? Because I saw some stats the other day. I listened to some stats. First year under Bruce Arians, Carson Palmer, 24 touchdowns. How many interceptions?
24 interceptions.
No, 22 interceptions, but still not very good. Andrew Luck, 23 touchdowns in his first year under Bruce Arians. 18 interceptions. Peyton Manning, in his first year under Bruce Arians, ended with more interceptions than he did touchdowns. Is it a Bruce Arians problem, or is it a Jameis Winston problem?
No, it's a Jameis Winston problem. You see,
Peyton Manning... on, man. I've just proved my point,
No. Peyton Manning was known for interceptions. He led the league in interceptions many years. He was known to throw a lot of interceptions. Andrew Luck was another player who threw a lot of interceptions. I like the stats he'd given, and possibly it could be a Bruce Arians problem, but those players, they're known for a lot of interceptions as it is. I think Jameis, I don't know what it is with him. Maybe he can see better now. I can understand the facts he's put out there, but I think it's very hard to blame it on Bruce Arians because Bruce Arians won. No.
I'm not blaming it on Bruce Arians, but I just think you need to start. I think it is fair enough to look at Jameis. Look, I'm not saying he should go and start for Tampa Bay.
No.
I'm defending him because I like him, but it's also relevant points. You know,
it is relevant points, but Jameis was still throwing picks for Bruce Arians got there as well.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I can understand your points, and
I tried to defend famous Jameis, and it didn't work. But anyway, that concludes the episode. We'll conclude it on famous Jameis.
Still have some more players as well. Actually.
Have you got some more?
Just because there's some more. Jason Peters, offensive tackle. The Eagles released him. Clinton Dix still out there. Brilliant safety.
Of course.
Eric Ebron, a very good tight end. Matt Golden still out there. Yeah. Demarius Randall, another good safety. Rashad Perriman, a good wide receiver, and Devontae Freeman, who got released by the Falcons, a very good running back.
I forgot about him. But there is a lot of good players still out there. A lot of more deals still to go. We may have to catch up a little bit next week on free agency. Yeah. Probably the last episode of free agency will be next week. Yeah. Probably. But we'll see what we have to do moving forward because Corona's causing so many problems.
And Maybe James will be on a team next week.
He will.
Next week.
He'll be at the Steelers throwing no picks because he's not under Bruce Arians anymore. No.
Well, maybe now he can see, and he's got 2 shoulders now instead of just one. Yeah, he's got an actual arm. So.
Cam Newton can't do it, and he's got no leg, no ankle, no arm. It's fine.
And by the way, before you leave, I think there is some breaking news here. Just before we leave. Oh, it's the Cardinals are signing Falcons linebacker Devontae Campbell to a 1-year deal worth $8.5 million. So we'll leave you with that.
And Logan Ryan's close to signing with the Titans.
Re-signing with the Titans, right?
There you go. So thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to thank you, Will.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
You're on every week. You don't have to thank me.
In the comfort of my own home this week, though.
Yeah, we're social distancing from each other. And obviously, thank you for everyone that joined on Monday as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Top Corner, the NFL Corner on the Sports Corner YouTube channel. And as I say, thank you, Will. Thanks to me, and thanks to absolutely everyone that has been so helpful to us as we fight through this with different sort of stream protocol. And as we say, and as the people through the glass are saying, we will end it on Skull. Let's go.